It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, guys, welcome to the Opperman Report. Who am I? I'm your host, blah, blah, blah. This show's basically going out to Patreon members only. And it is the true, one and only, behind-the-scenes story of Mel's Hole from the Art Bell Show. If you ever listened to the Art Bell Show back in the, oh my goodness, the 80s and the 90s, I guess it was the 90s, you know, Art Bell had an AM/FM radio show in the middle of the night, midnight in the desert, and all UFOs and conspiracy theories and ghosts and goblins and all kind of things. Fascinating guy, Art Bell. And his most popular show was the story of Mel's Hole. There was a guy supposedly named Mel, either Walters or Waters. I think it was Mel Waters. And he lived up in Washington State. And there was a hole on his property that his family had seen this hole for years. They lived with this hole on their property. They lived in peace with that harmony with this hole. And so, they used to throw their trash down the hole, And, he decided, well, let me measure this hole. Let's see how deep the hole is. And he had like 6,700 feet of twine or wire or something like that he lowered down into the hole, and it still wasn't to the bottom of the hole. So it was like a bottomless hole, allegedly, on the bottom of his property there. And then he even went on to say that, his dog was sick, and his dog went to sleep by the hole, and then the dog, was better. It was healed. The hole healed my dog. And then it got crazy, and he called in to Art Bell. And I know the whole story behind the scenes with this. Of course. Who else knows? And then, the story started getting bigger and bigger. And, look, if you look on Google Maps, and this is even before they had Google Maps, the location where Mel's Hole is covered on Google's Maps. You can't see it. And then the military came in the next day and cordoned off that whole property. And then the local Indian guide, who was a friend of Mel's. The story just got bigger and bigger and bigger and crazy and crazy and crazy. So I'm going to let you listen to this the story. It's like 35 minutes long. I don't think I'm going to play the whole thing. That Art Bell played the first time. And then, the show took on enormous proportions and legendary fame of Mel's Hole. And then Art Bell, actually, his very last show before he quit, they had a reappearance of Mr. Mel Waters and Mel's Hole. But I know the whole real story. It was a made-up story. I know the guys who wrote it. I'm going to tell you about the guys who wrote it and how crazy and weird they were to be on top of it. So there's some good stuff coming after this show here. You're going to hear the real inside gossip. And these were people involved with the old Art Bell feud. If you don't notice, I helped negotiate the Art Bell feud and settlement. And I was a witness in the Art Bell feud. And, been an affidavit from Mr. Art Bell. Met Art Bell in person a couple of times in New York City. And then met him at the Harvest Festival in Pahrump. After I moved to Las Vegas, we went to his house afterwards and hung out with Art Bell. Spent many, many hours on the phone with Art Bell. And, man, let's talk about Mel's Hole. Okay, what can I do? Let's play Mel's Hole.
The bottomless pit in Washington State.
Mel's the guy with the never-ending hole, and we're going to ask him about it here in a moment. Now to Eastern Washington. I guess this is Eastern Washington. Mel, are you there?
Yes, I am.
First of all, Mel, thank you for answering. What are you doing up at this time of the morning?
Well, after I sent the fax, I'm living in town here now because we had a couple of our buildings out there cave in after the big snows that we had out here last month.
Oh, yes.
And so thereby goes some of the construction debris into the hole. So.
All right. When did you discover this hole?
Well, the hole has always been there. We've been out there for a couple of years now, and the hole has been there since we've been there. It's been there since the previous owner was there, and the previous owner there was quite elderly, and I'd say he was there for a good 30, 40 years before we moved in.
Wow.
And then
and so there's been a thing of throwing stuff down this hole for a long time.
It's been going on, for as long as the hole has been there, I assume.
When nobody knows that, I guess. All right. How do you pronounce the name of your town, Manastash?
Manastash.
Manastash.
Right.
That's right. Thank you.
Actually, I'm in, right now I'm in a little town called Ellensburg.
Oh, I know Ellensburg. All right.
You must know about a rodeo here then.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Well, so, we've been there for several years. And, we just take all of our trash, rubbish, anything we have that we have to get rid of, we take it, throw it in the hole. Everyone's throwing their stuff in the hole. The people from around there throw all the stuff in the hole. I mean, it's just been going on for a long time. Well, I got to thinking one day, how come this hole is not filling up? It must be an awfully deep hole.
That's a good thing to consider, sure, as you throw stuff in it for decades, literally.
And so, I used to be I would say pretty close to a professional shark fisherman. So I had a couple of huge fishing reels, went out there and started letting the line down. I figure after one...
Did you weight the line?
Oh, yeah. There's, in fact, the original line is still down there. I've just been adding to the line and keeping track of how much line I have used. So I've not reeled it in.
How much weight is on it?
There's a 1 pound weight at the bottom of it.
1 pound weight, all
1
right.
pound weight. It's a triangular 1 pound weight.
Okay.
And so that's at the bottom of it at first.
So in other words, it would go down kind of like a plumb bob.
Exactly. In fact, I have it rigged across the center of it there, and it goes straight down from the center there. And occasionally I try to move the line there, but when you're moving that much line, you really can't do a whole lot with it. But it seems to, there seems to be, it's not resting against anything at this point here, and it continues to go down freely. And so when I was out there earlier, I'd let out a little bit more line. And
so you actually went out there tonight after I read this?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
Well, it's not too bad out here right now. It's only about 25 degrees, so it's not too cold.
Have you ever heard anything coming from any sounds or anything?
Well, the normal thing to do is kind of like yell into it there, to see an echo, and I've never heard an echo come out of that thing.
No echo.
At all. That's one of the first things I noticed about it. As usual, I brought the dogs with me. They wouldn't go anywhere near the damn thing, and I went back to the Suburban and hung out over there. So it was kind of if I try to bring them there on a leash, they'll just dig their feet in. They do not want to go anywhere near the hole, and so I don't know. It's just.
Well, you've got miles and miles of.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm measuring it by feet. I convert feet to yards, so I don't know how many miles that is. I assume it's a fair number of miles, though.
Well, 5,280 feet is a mile, so you really think you've got 80,000?
Yes, yeah. I get line in 5,000 yard spools, and so I've gone through that many.
Well, you have got a hole then that goes. Well, you can't say to the center of the earth, but you've got a hole that goes miles and miles and miles into the earth. I would think a university would be out there, boom, just like that.
Well, my wife does work for a local university here, and, we've been talking to them about it, and one of the things is they find it quite incredible that I've let that much line into the ground, but that's what I've been doing.
Have you ever thought of winding it all back up again?
Well, when I let out the first 1,500 yards of line, I reeled all of that back in.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if I had hit water down there, because I thought that's a lot of feet.
You bet.
That's 4,500 feet of line. Did I hit water? So I did. What I did is I sent down a roll of lifesavers.
Lifesavers?
Yeah, so when it hits the water, the lifesavers will dissolve.
That's true. Oh, I see. So very smart. So
yeah, it's an old shark fisherman's trick there. We used to send our bait out on a balloon attached to a roll of lifesavers, and the bait would go out into the ocean on the tide.
Yeah.
And then eventually the lifesavers would melt, and the bait would fall to the bottom. You couldn't cast a big old mackerel out there that far. So
that's amazing. So, what do you got any guesses?
I don't. I have no idea. I thought it could have been a mine shaft, but the thing about it is the surface part of it's been very well cared for. I mean, someone built a very lovely wall around it. And
all right, tell me about the nature of the side of the walls. In other words, you must be able to look down far enough, at least, to examine the side of the walls.
Sure, it's stone for about 15 feet down.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's soil, dirt, and then further down rock. So but I can only see to the extent of really powerful flashlight. I brought halogen lights out there to try to get a better look down there, but the visibility really isn't there. You cannot see much after a while. But it's a retaining wall. I'd say it's about a 3.5 foot retaining wall, and it goes down about 15 feet, and then it's...
Well, I'll tell you this much. No matter how powerful a light, and I was even thinking about a laser, when you're talking about 80,000 feet, forget it. No.
Well, they should have some technology that can give me an idea of how deep this thing is. I mean, obviously, the old fishing line method is only going to go so far.
What we need here is a volunteer. Real, I'm serious. Somebody who would be willing to be lowered into this hole.
Well, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't even know if there's any air down that far. I mean,
I wouldn't know about that either.
Or
that's
what
true.
kind of pressures we're dealing with. These are things that are totally beyond my grasp in terms of knowledge about these things. But
do you own this property?
It's our property, yeah.
How long have you been working on this?
Well, we've been out there for a couple of years. I said about 4 years now. But this project here with letting down the line, that's only been since last summer here. And it was just, I said, well, how come this thing isn't filling up?
Well, sure.
And I talked to the neighbors around there, which are, when you're out there in the country, your neighbors are pretty far away, but they all know the hole out there.
They all know about it. So it's
because they all bring their trash out there.
So the local legend of the hole.
Yeah, this could be an apocryphal story, but one guy claims that he threw his departed canine down into the hole.
Oh, really?
And the story is the guy that did it swears the dog actually came back to him. And he was a hunter. He was a hunter. The story is that he was a hunter, and he was out there hunting, and he saw the same dog. He had the same collar. He had the same little little metal thing on his collar there, and he said it was the same dog. And he says he knew he threw the dog into the hole. But that's not my dog. That's not my.
It's not your story, but it's a story of a resurrected dog.
Yeah. This is as you can well imagine, this is all Native American land around here, and so one of the lines of inquiries I'd like to make is is there anything about this hole in regards to the Native Americans? That's something I haven't really pursued right now. But
if you had a fatal disease, Mel, would you jump in the hole?
I would.
You would?
It's
based on the dog story?
It is in my will.
What?
Should I meet my demise,
that you would be thrown in the hole,
disposed of into the well.
I'm not sure the health department would allow that.
Well, one of the things that I thought about later on is, what if this is like contaminating our water, And we've had, I'm sure you do this out there in Pahrump too.
Well,
you have your water checked all the time.
Well, yeah, no personal offense to you, Mel, but if there was a possible contamination problem, I'm sure you're a clean guy.
Yeah.
But as you deteriorated, you would possibly produce E. coli or something horrible in the local water supply.
Well, again, so far it hasn't.
If you weren't resurrected.
I mean, the water around that area is absolutely pure water. It is,
And so nothing thrown down, all the old junk and trash, and nothing has polluted the water.
No, I can't speak for everything that's been thrown down there, but none of that has been showing up in the water that people draw from their wells. I mean, the water's as clean as it's ever been out there. I think we get water that comes off the Cascades or something.
Yeah.
It's just really great. It's really wonderful water.
Mel, you wouldn't be pulling my leg.
No, I'm not. And I'm one of the reasons that I went out to the property tonight, other than it just, it's something that weighs heavily on my mind. I was afraid that after I sent the fax out, that there would be people around there because it's...
Well, there may be, but we have not identified specifically where it is.
Well, there aren't, as far as I could tell, too many big holes like that around, and so at least the people in my neck of the woods are familiar with it, and I kind of almost expected to see a small party of people.
Well, there may be. Now, I mean, come daylight, there may be. But remember, folks, this is private property. This is Mel's home.
It is posted, too.
Oh, it is. All right. Well, there you are. So without knowing exactly where it is, I wouldn't look for that to occur, but there is going to be substantial curiosity about it now, Mel.
Well, I think I've, let you know as much as I know about it. I certainly want to find out more. I'm mostly curious. I was mostly curious about the depth of it. I mean, how deep is the deepest hole anyone has ever found?
Well, I've never heard of anything deeper than this.
I thought maybe this would be like Guinness World Book of Records type hole here. And as far as things I thought it would be like. Could have been like an old mine.
Well, now, here's a couple things to think about. I've heard as you go down into the earth, Mel, that it gets hotter.
Ooh.
Right? So you would think that your fishing line with a weight on it at some point would melt or, something, but there's still weight on it, huh?
Yeah. The line is not moving freely. I mean, it still falls under its own weight.
Oh, that's amazing. Let's let some of the audience ask you questions.
Okay, I think I can do that.
All right, because I just might be missing something. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Mel. Hello.
Hi, Art. This is Dave in Milwaukee.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, I was listening to this. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I just wanted to let you know, I looked up an encyclopedia, and the Marianas Trench, which is the deepest hole we know about.
That's in the ocean, right?
Right. It's 36,000 feet deep.
So this is... certainly over double that already.
Right. And it also says, under mining, that with current technology, we can only go down about 1,600 feet.
Wow. That's great. That is great.
So you've got something here that already qualifies for Guinness.
That is wonderful. Oh, gosh, I like that. That's great. You said 1,600 feet?
That's what they said, yeah. 1,640 feet, it says, with current technology is about as deep.
Wow.
All right. Thank you very much for that information. So already we now learn that you may have a Guinness qualifying hole there, no question about it.
Gee.
But I want to know, inquiring minds want to know, I would think even if we just had somebody lowered past the 1,600-foot mark to see what's down there.
That would be cool, but it wouldn't be me.
You wouldn't do it?
I wouldn't go down and no.
At least not while you're still alive.
No, then I will, but I mean, for the time being, no.
I understand. All right, east of the Rockies, you're on the air with Mel.
What if the rope broke?
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Mel?
Yeah, hi.
Where are you calling from, sir?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas, all right.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you would like somebody to be lowered down into the hole.
That's right.
I would be willing to do that.
See, there you go, sir, a volunteer.
We've got a volunteer.
I mean, obviously under certain conditions.
Like what?
Just a cage, for one.
A cage?
Yeah, just in the event that there's some kind of weird subterranean thing eating all of this garbage down there. Obviously, I would want to be in some kind of a cage.
Well, what makes you think, though, that anything that could gobble up, say, a refrigerator...
wouldn't get the cage? Well, I would have, obviously, a very powerful light, and I'd be able to see it at some point before it's too late.
So we'd have radio contact with you, and we could hear you scream at least.
Yeah.
Sounds too much
or
like
an
Jaws.
instant up button.
An up button?
An instant up button. On back up. At like a high speed.
And you could take a camera with you.
Yeah.
With a light and show us everything as
Yeah, I've got a pretty adventurous nature to me anyway. So this, plus I have a very appealing draw to the supernatural for some reason. Anyway, just naturally in my personality.
Well, nobody's saying there's anything supernatural about this, but...
Well, the dog story would indicate something supernatural.
Well, that's true.
Well, everyone's dogs are scared of the hole.
Yeah.
It's not just my dogs.
No, that's a very good point. In other words, other dogs won't go anywhere near the hole, huh?
Yeah, my dogs will follow me everywhere. I mean, no matter where I go, they're,
Except
to the well.
Uh-huh.
Now, you call
is this possibly at a grid point on the planet?
I wouldn't know about grid points, other than I know they
exist. Know anything about the grid points in that area?
Well, I know. Yes, thank you, sir, from Austin. I've heard about grid points, but I would have no way of knowing where they are and whether this is one of them. I wouldn't know. Now, this is just a hole. And he's right. There was something a little paranormal about it when you consider the dog story. I tell you. Well, here's somebody from Las Vegas. Mike suggests that we throw a cat down the hole. Listen to the cat scream as it goes down. That's a horrible idea. I don't know about people who do that, throw down a cat. Oh, man. And you hear the echo sort of going down. I'm not for that at all. All right, Mel, here comes some more people. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Mel with the hole.
Art, why don't you have somebody, I know you're connected with somebody that's got radar available. Radar would be the way to go to find out the depth.
Well, would radar go down a hole
absolutely
without hitting the sides?
You don't need a fancy radar to do it.
You mean like a... What about sonar? No, I guess
no, sonar you couldn't use because you don't have anything for the medium to go through, like underwater for sonar.
Yeah.
But radar would definitely work.
In other words...
I was just curious if you'd call a government agency to come out.
But wouldn't radar return a hit from the sides of the hole and bounce around down there?
No. Purely directional radar. What do you use when you're driving down the highway?
Well... You use radar, but that's out in the open. That's not in. I don't know enough about radar to know if that would work, but it's a good idea.
Well, I've used it for years, but
all right,
that's the way to try it.
All right, that's. I want. How about a cop's radar?
I'm not sure if they'll return an echo off of that. All
right. Well,
it would tell you how fast the hole was going, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Tell you how fast. Cute, Mel. Wild card line. You're on the air with Mel. Hello.
This is pretty funny. Good evening, Mel.
Hi.
My name is Barry. I'm just hop, skipping, and jumping away from you down here in Yakima.
All right.
And I'm awful surprised I haven't heard of this before now.
Well, now, Mel hasn't made this public as far as I know. Have you, Mel?
No, it's just on my land.
I see.
So my neighbors know about it.
Well, I mean, wait. This is the first public announcement of the hole?
As far as I know, there's no newspaper accounts of it, not in the Daily Record or in the
well, there will be now.
Herald.
There will be now.
Well, as usual, you've heard it here first, folks, on our bill. Before I get serious, I just wanted to kind of lighten things up here and ask if you'd considered making a contract with the refuse collection department from Yakima County. You could probably make a killing on that.
I read an article in the paper how they wanted to close down our local dump out here, and I almost seriously suggested.
Listen, here's another possibility for you. Do you know that I live near an area where there's supposed to be a high-level nuclear dump? Now, if this is really, in effect, a bottomless pit,
whoa,
you may have something that the U.S. government wants.
So I could, rent this thing out.
You're damn right.
And move away as quick as possible.
Well,
anyways, I wanted to mention here, we've got many mediums of technology, and the gentleman who suggested radar, I think, was onto something.
Mm-hmm.
Say for instance that Guinness came out and was going to, they're pretty thorough with their investigation before they're going to print you.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
Anyways, maybe the way to go is to have someone lower in a sensors package, which is something that measures for noxious gases, temperature, and I'm sure they could focus a radar, probably pencil thin,
mm-hmm.
and and just hook it up to a endless supply of cable and lower it down. That'd be awful interesting.
Look, I'd be interested, even if we don't get a hold of the guy from Austin, to lower a camera and a light down.
You know, when I was out there this evening, it's kind of a sort of a full moon out there, and one of the things that occurred to me is maybe this has some sort of astronomical type thing.
What do you mean, Mel?
Well, you know, it's like, you know, how you know, the various pyramids and things in Egypt, you know, are supposed to be lined up on various star systems or whatever.
Well, was it a thing like where the moonlight was shining into the hole?
Well, no, but I just, you know, happened to notice, you know, the full moon, and all of a sudden it just sort of put two and two together there, you know.
You've never felt drawn to the hole personally, have you? I mean, in terms of, you know.
You mean in terms of some sort of spiritual involvement, or
no suicide? No suicide.
No. I mean, I keep the lid on it there because it's an attractive nuisance. You don't want local kids there climbing on the wall and falling in.
There's actually no way of knowing whether people have gone in. Because they'd be gone.
Not in my
down with a refrigerator.
You know, again, if I can find out something from the local Native Americans on, you know, maybe with some sort of burial thing, or you know, I mean.
And you can drop a big rock, and you can hear it going down, probably bouncing off the walls or something, but you never hear a splash.
You never hear a splash. I've even taken like old television tubes, you know, the picture tubes, and.
You've dropped picture tubes down there?
Yeah, I've dropped. I hate to say this here, but I've dropped more than one of them down there, and I've never heard it implode or anything. Nothing.
EPA, you probably shouldn't say that on the air.
Well,
they'll come and get you for that. I mean, TV tubes.
Well, it is my.
It's your own property, I know, but these days, Mel, doesn't make any difference. I mean, tomorrow morning you're liable to wake up and there'll be tanks in Boutros Golly.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, east of the Rockies, you're on the air with Mel.
Hi, WKXY, Sarasota.
Sarasota, Florida, yes.
Let me say, let's throw Mike from Las Vegas down the hole.
Really?
Okay? Yeah. Okay, you know, he's the cat. Okay. I do have a question for Mel. You're a fisherman, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever felt a tug on the line, and if you did, what would you do?
Well, I don't have a hook on it. There's just a large, there's a 1 pound weight.
Yeah, but she's saying if something obviously was pulling on that line.
What would I do?
Yeah.
What you do?
I'd
run.
Yeah.
I'd seal that damn thing up, and I'd never get near it again.
Yeah, I'd put the lid down on it at that point there and say, that's it, the dump is closed.
And at any point, did you ever pull up the weight and look at it?
Yeah, I asked that too.
The first series of letting down line, when I got about 4,500 feet down there, I had a roll of lifesavers down on the bottom to determine if there was any water down there, and of course, if there was water, the lifesavers would melt. I didn't do that. But since that time, I've let the line continuously go down. I've just spliced on to the end of the line and continued.
Yeah, just trying to find out where the bottom is.
Yeah, that was my main question. It's like, how deep is this thing? Where does it go? You know, well, it goes into the earth, but you know, how far does it go before it'll stop? You know.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I think that a light and a video camera. I mean, Mel, you could have a special as you got down past, what did they say was the deepest hole, 1,600 feet?
1,600 feet.
As you got down past 1,600 feet, you'd have a network special on your hands, Mel.
That would be good. I'm thinking about putting up a web page on it there if I can get one of those.
What's his name? Rivera would come.
and they'd lower him into the hole.
Only if we were all lucky. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Mel. Hello.
Yeah, this is Terry from Bremerton.
Hello, Terry. Oh, you're up in Washington again, yeah.
You're right. Well, I was wondering about how much does 15 miles of fishing line weigh?
I have no idea. I'm just letting that sucker go down. I have not reeled
what if
it in.
you've already hit the bottom and you got a pound of fishing line on it?
That's right.
Letting it down.
Yeah, I
already
should.
hit the bottom.
I should weigh one of those spools because I'm getting them in 5,000-yard spools.
Yeah.
And so I should weigh a spool and sort of deduct the cost of the spool itself and see what that would add up to in terms of how much that weighs.
Miles.
So in other words, it could have hit bottom some time ago, and simply the pure weight of the line.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it is reached bottom there. There's no slack in the line.
But even so, well, there might not be with that much weight. But even if that's true, caller, think about it. He's still got the deepest hole ever heard of in the world.
Yeah, he does. But the weight of the line would keep pulling the line down.
Yeah. But there would be so much line down there by then. But
what pound test line is it?
I'm using 20 pound. I couldn't
pounds.
afford to go much higher.
Do you think you have 20 pounds of line on it already?
Pardon me?
Do you think you have 20 pounds of line in the hole already?
I'm sure there's more line than that.
It would break by then.
We're talking how many?
There must be a lot of tension.
I have about 20 spools of line.
A lot of tension on that.
Yeah.
20 spools of line on there.
Wow.
And it's still hanging on there. That weight continues to go down. I don't know if there's a way of weighing that thing, as it is.
Yeah, I was just interested in how much the line would weigh itself.
I could probably do that. Get one of those hanging scales.
Sure.
And spring operated and stuff, and just sort of knot it off up there.
Yeah, why not? It's worth a try. And the other thing that's worth a try, I suppose, although you'd be cranking for a long time, would be to crank it back up again.
Well, no, I could just weigh like one spool of line and multiply it. I think I'm up to about like 18 spools of line right now. So, it wouldn't be too hard to get a weight on it.
All right. You'll report back to us on that?
Yeah, I can. Sure, definitely.
All right.
Yes, definitely.
All right. First time caller line. You're on the air with Mel. Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Where are you?
I'm Bellingham, Washington.
Yes. Oh, Washington again. Yeah.
Yes. I was wondering what was the Mel said that he had a triangular 1 pound weight on the end of the line.
You're right.
Yeah, I was wondering what elements was that weight, or is that weight composed of?
It's a standard lead fishing weight.
Mm-hmm. You were talking earlier. Al was talking earlier about the heat when you get deep into.
Well, I was speculating. I saw the movie with Pat Boone about the journey to center of the Earth. It was supposed to get hot when you go down, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, what about the magnetism? That's a factor you consider also.
The magnetism?
Yes.
You're off into a territory that I can't answer. Mel, are you're gonna contact your wife works for a university?
Yeah, a local university.
Have they? I mean, did she tell them about this? And if so, what did they say?
Well, the people she talked to, because I nag her about it occasionally, say they're telling her you don't have a whole day that deep,
So in other words, they don't believe her.
No, what I'm trying to do is, kind of entice them out there and just bring something out there to measure how deep it is.
Well, Mel, would you be willing to talk to, like, newspaper people or television people? They're crazy. They'd send someone down there.
Well, I know I'm talking to a lot of people on the phone right now and on the radio, but I am not sure if I'd want to have a TV crew and
So you're not sure you want that kind of publicity?
No, I'd be happy to, like I say, I could put together a website on it and keep people informed about what's going on, because I'm sort of making this my.
People would accuse you of going to the well one time too many.
That's probably true.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Mel. Hello.
Hello there. That is absolutely amazing. All right, this is Ken from Scottsdale.
Yes, sir.
And one thing I wanted to mention about that, when you mentioned about a car that had apparently fallen from the sky.
The Chevrolet, yeah.
Right. I recall reading about many, many incidents in England and throughout Europe of raining nuts of different kinds. I mean, Brazil nuts and hazelnuts
Sometimes it rains nuts on my program. Listen, we're not talking about things falling from the sky right now. We're talking about a hole.
Right, I know. Well, it was open lines a minute ago. Now you switched it.
Well, I've switched it because I have Mel.
Oh, well, anyway, as far as the hole goes, isn't it possible there could be like an aquifer or something and there's water or something?
Mel has not found any water. Any water at all. He lowered lifesavers in, and the lifesavers came back, and that was how far, Mel?
4,500 feet.
4,500 feet, and the lifesavers came back intact, right?
Oh, yeah. They were absolutely dry. They weren't dissolved. They were just perfect.
That's pretty definitive. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Mel. Hi.
Mel?
Hi.
Hi, this is Conrad in Grass Valley, and I've got some thoughts about this whole well problem.
Sure.
First of all, if he's putting line down the well...
Wait a minute, sir. We've got to stop this because people are going to call it a well. There has never been any water found in this hole.
Okay, a hole.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. If he started out with a 1-pound weight and he starts adding fish line to it,
right,
then the amount of weight down the hole increases. All right. Now, if he knows the weight of the line on a per-foot basis, as he puts more weight down the hole, if he could measure the total strain on the top of or load on the top of the line, he would know if any of that line was draped on anything. See, the thing is, once he gets a fair amount of line down there,
that's a good point.
The 1-pound weight on the end is insignificant. And he wouldn't even, it could be hung up on something or laying on the bottom or something, and he would never know it.
Yeah, but he put lifesavers down 4,500 feet. So even if what you're saying is true, this is still, by a long shot, the deepest hole ever.
Well, that assumes it's even that deep. The one thought that you had that I thought was very valid was the temperature as you go farther down into the ground.
Well, that's what I think that's right, isn't it?
Oh, yes, of course. By the time it's down 4,000 feet in the ground, where the temperature would probably be well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
If the 100, the monofilament and the lead would certainly survive 100 degrees just fine. You're probably right. That is interesting. Mel, I say that we got to put a person down there, a volunteer.
Not a cat.
No, not a cat. No cats. But a person, maybe like a media person. One of these anchors from maybe one of the Seattle Como stations or something. Lower them down.
Oh boy. Again, I'm intrigued. Again, I've been running line down there for quite a while, and I don't think I've hit bottom. The weight seems to be hanging plumb over there, and like I say, we've been throwing things down there for a long time, and this hole has not filled up. I don't know. Maybe it's getting incinerated down there. I don't know.
All right, and you would swear on all that is sacred to you that what you have told us is the absolute, unadulterated truth.
This is my hole, and this is the truth about it.
God, it's an amazing story, Mel. Who else besides your wife, the people you've tried to talk to at the university, and yourself? I guess your neighbors know about the hole?
Oh, yeah. There's probably good. Oh, well, in terms, not families, but individuals, probably a good 20 people that use the hole regularly.
To throw junk into?
Yeah. It's always been done.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, I used to like to throw stuff off bridges and stuff like that, and into holes just to hear it hit bottom.
Never heard anything hit. I mean, if you hit the side, of course, but if you just drop it straight down.
Straight down, yeah, 9.5 feet.
Go straight.
9.5 feet is certainly large enough so that if you got in the center and dropped it straight down, it would go straight down, right?
Yeah, you can just lean right over there and get it going straight down. And as far as anything I can see, visually, with the halogens and flashlights.
The light just what? fades away into blackness.
Yeah. You've got nothing after a while. You know, you can see as far as the beam will go, and that's it. You know?
Does anybody have any theories about? You said a dog was thrown into the hole, dead, and then came back alive again, right?
The story is the guy was out hunting and he saw his dog, and he knew it was his dog because it was the same dog. It had the same collar, it had the same tag on it, and the whole thing.
Oh man! Does anybody have any theories about what properties would be in the hole to resurrect a canine?
Gosh, I'd like to think that this is something like really benign. Like, I mean, cows have gone down there. I mean, I haven't heard any cows coming back, or at least that you would know. But I don't. Boy.
Well, it's not the creator. Well, look, we're out of time. Mel, you get the honors from near the hole in Washington State. Tell them.
From the hole.
Okay. I'm stopping. Okay. What I'll probably do is I'll play the other half, the second half of that. I thought I could pause it. I wonder if there was a way I could pause it. I don't know if there is or not, but I was hoping maybe I could pause it and then play the second half after the show. Maybe I'll have our friend there, Ed Parnell, help us out and do some editing magic for us. Okay, what's the story of Mel's Hole and the whole bunch here? Here's what's going on. I've told a story in the past about my involvement with Art Bell feud and the lawsuit and all of that. And this is all part of that situation. Now, when I first became involved in the feud and the lawsuit, it was going on for a bit of time. And then this group showed up. Okay, because we were bickering back and forth on these different message boards. And then this group showed up all at once. And this was a group called Spam House, Spamhaus. And they had run these alt Usenet groups called Art Bell. And they were really fascinated with Art Bell's trailer because he lived in a trailer in Pahrump, which is a very nice home. It was a trailer home, double wide trailer home in Pahrump. Very nice neighborhood, cul-de-sac. But they used to call it an Airstream trailer. They were trying to say that Art Bell lived in an Airstream trailer. By the way, I got to take my hat off to Art Bell, man. He went on there for 35 minutes, made that thing so interesting. The story's not that interesting when you listen back to it. The stupid whole story. I was never fascinated with it at the time, but this thing was huge, man. People love this freaking story. And Art thought it was the biggest story too, that he would have it back on his last show. So this group, Spam House, shows up, and they were obsessed with Bell and Ramona and stalking Bell in this bizarre online parody, they would call it. And they would make these parody pictures and these parody websites about Bell and his wife Ramona. And they also, when they showed up, they said, "Oh my goodness, what's going on here? There's a controversy about Art Bell that we're not involved in, that we're not running, that we're not trolling. We're not trolling Art Bell here, and is somebody else complaining about Bell? This is our turf." And they came swooping in with furious anger, like the scene in Pulp Fiction. Okay. And there was this one character in this bunch. He used the screen name Fellini 8.5. Okay, and I know his real name. I know who this guy is. I got his real. Maybe I'll tell his real name. Maybe I won't. He's a real weird guy. And he was like the most offended that someone else would be stalking and trolling Art Bell rather than he and his friends. That this was their domain to be doing this. So one of the things he bragged about, and also too, this group, Spam House and Fellini and his friends, they were very cruel online trolls. And there was this woman who had a son who was, I forget what he had. It was, something like, we talk about it now, like Asperger's or what are those things? Not ADHD, but Asperger's. What's the other one? Autism, right? So he was on the spectrum for that kind of stuff, and they used to call him her tard son. And they were just brutally cruel to this woman. And there were a couple of women who were witnesses in the Art Bell lawsuit against David Oates. And they were brutally cruel, stalking these two women who were had very fragile personalities to begin with. So I was prominent in this big Art Bell debate, even though I wasn't an Art Bell. I was nowhere like consumed or a fan of Art Bell like these characters were, not even close. I had just stumbled upon this debate one day when my bathroom was being remodeled. Okay, I had some contractors over in my home remodeling my bathroom, and so I couldn't shower, I couldn't go out, I couldn't really do anything. So I was like cooped up for a couple of days, and I was, twirling around. I was surfing around online, and I found this debate. There was a link to it on the Art Bell website, and I went there to check it out, and I made a couple of comments, and everyone thought that I was Art Bell. They thought that I was Art Bell posting undercover because I had an AOL IP address, so they assumed right away that I was Art Bell. And I just debated with everybody all night long and all day long, I think that's around the time that I was trying out that Provigil for the first time. Okay, and I think that gave me a little extra focus and attention to this little debate here. But I remember showing my wife and showing her the message board and saying, look, look at all these people, and I'm debating all these people at once, and I'm kicking all their little asses all at once, So the one who was the most offended with this was this fellow Fellini, who was bitterly upset with me that I was getting all this attention, personal attention from Art Bell and personal attention from David Oates and these people involved in the feud. And here he had invested all this time and all these years into trolling Bell and making these memes and these pictures of trailers and double wides and Gulf Streams, and he was just became obsessed with me. And he would write these things. I would mostly ignore him. Especially at first, I didn't know who this guy was, I dismissed him. This guy, because he wasn't like a regular debater in our group, so he wasn't anybody to be considered, And he would write these things. Ed, they thought my name was Observer. No one knew my name was Ed till later on. He goes, it's you and me, mano y mano. Man against man, you and me. Let's debate, let's face up. I'm like, who are you? Why would I even care? So it turns out he started bragging about how he had written Mel's Hole. Okay, so fine, you wrote Mel's Hole. Okay, big deal. I don't know how much. So that whole thing you heard there was scripted. The whole the character of Mel Waters is a scripted character. The story was scripted. I don't know how many of the phone calls were scripted as well. I'm sure some were. Even myself, when I used to do radio on WBAI back in New York City back in 1979, that's how old I am, guys. I would call in. I would be a caller, but it would kind of be like scripted in advance. They would know I was calling in. I would be calling in with little bits that I had prepared and stuff like that. I had a special phone number to call into. I had special equipment to call in with. So I believe this is possible that's what went on with Art Bell and this group, right? Now, when I met Art in person, because I think things were really, when I met him in person in New York, he had come for a book signing with Whitley Strieber. And I think things at the time were really heating up with Spam House, and I could see that they were being abusive toward him and stuff like that, and I was helping him out with other matters. And I said, well, what about these Spam House guys? And he says, I'm not going to sue Spam House too. I'm not going to sue them also as well, And then this other guy was always going on and on about how he had written Mel's Hole and he was the writer of Mel's Hole. So later on, when it came more public, and I was publicly negotiating the settlement, and I had done a witness statement, I had made an affidavit of my experience in this whole thing, and how one of the defendants had told me that they were planning to take the summary judgment and then declare bankruptcy afterwards. And you can't create a debt and declare bankruptcy later. That's against the law. You can't do that. So when I put that in an affidavit, then they had to settle. That I was told that. Around this time, one day, I get a knock at my door. And this is in Henderson, Nevada. I had this beautiful house on the golf course down there. And this guy knocks on my door, and he says, I'm here to meet the real estate agent. Can I come in and use your phone? And I says, no, there's no real estate agent here. There's no real estate agent here, nothing like that. And I look at his car, and he had like a landscaping truck, like a pickup truck with landscaping equipment in the back. Maybe there wasn't landscaping equipment in the back, but it was definitely a landscaping type truck. Okay? Like, this wasn't the kind of truck you would drive from California all the way. This guy was in Santa Maria, California, like Northern California. This was like a 9-hour drive. This guy to drive to my place, knock on my door, to see what I looked like, and then turn around and drive back. So I tricked him. I says, okay, listen, you can't come in, but I'll go get my phone. You can use my phone. So he made believe he dialed my phone, but then when I went inside later on, I hit redial, so he didn't make any phone call. He was pretending. So I knew, I'm not stupid. I knew something was up. I saw he had a California plate. So that was the guy. That was this guy, Fellini. This guy was so obsessed. I've always had this thing with these online stalkers, man. I don't know what it is. I was doing no radio, no voice, no nothing. None of this personal talking on the air where people think they know me so well and they think they have this intimate relationship with me. This was just from typing on the internet on a message board. That people just became so fascinated with me that they had to drive 9 hours to my house to meet me. Okay? And then turn around and drive 9 hours to go back, in this beat-up pickup truck. And that was this guy. And so then when Art Bell did his thing where he retired, his last show was again to do a recap of this Mel's Hole, that thing. And again, this guy Fellini, again, he wrote the story of the return of Mel's Hole. It was really bizarre, too. Such a small world. That around this time, one of the women involved in a witness in the lawsuit against David Oates for Art Bell, she had gone on Oprah Winfrey, and she had accused her father of molesting her. So, but it turned out later on that she's retracted all of that, and even though I think the show's still available, you can still see it if you go on YouTube, you can still find the show. And by some wild coincidence, a friend of mine from Staten Island who had also moved to Vegas, and we were going to go into some kind of business together he was in the alarm business. And we were going to go into business together in Las Vegas. And out of some bizarre small world coincidence, he hooked up with this woman who was part of this Art Bell feud. And one night they came over to our home for dinner. I cooked dinner for them. I remember what it was. It was these baby filet mignons, these little filet mignons wrapped in bacon, and some potatoes and anyway, it's like potatoes au gratin. I made cheese on it. And this woman, again, we were on the same side of this feud. But while she was in my house, she went to my office. She snuck over there. Like when she went to the bathroom, she snuck over. She saw my office, and she took pictures of my computer, of my desk, and my computer setups. Because I had this is back in the 90s, and I had 3 computers on my desk. I had 3 monitors, and I had 3 towers. The towers weren't on the desk; they were underneath the desk. And she took pictures of it, and she titled it "Observer." Okay, and then one day when I was Googling myself, I was Googling Ed Opperman. I Googled Ed Opperman Observer. That picture came up. A picture from inside my house came up on the internet that I knew that I didn't take. Now I figured it was her who took the picture. But so then that's pretty much the story of who behind the scenes wrote Mel's Hole. It was this weirdo guy named Fellini who was obsessed with Bell and part of this group Spam House. The whole thing it's a made up story. I hate to break it to people that the whole thing's fake and made up. This guy's admitted to making it up. Art Bell never confessed to me that Mel's Hole was made up, but he confessed to me that he was in cahoots with these Spam House guys. That he was in there with them. And I guess that's all I can think about at the moment about the story of Mel's Hole and the big feud, the Art Bell feud and debate and all that craziness. I got to take my hat off to Art Bell, though, man, to make this story sound interesting, to go on to do a whole hour show on something as stupid as a hole in the ground. You know what I mean? It's like how empty can you get? you know. And then he does this whole show. And Art Bell was a one of a kind as far as radio. And when I listen to him taking the phone calls from the callers, and he goes, "Hello," that's just how he would sound when you would call his house and you'd call him up at home. Whenever I called him, he was always home. He was never. There was never a time when I would call up a remote and say, "Oh, he's not here." You know, he was just always there. And yeah, Art Bell, you know, a radio gold, genius when it comes to radio. Just goes to show you what a lonely life radio is too, man. You know, you give up so much of your life and your daily energy to put out good content for people, you know. And Art Bell was just like no one else. When we would have that feud, there were like 3 or 4 different message boards just dedicated to the feud. And not everyone who listened to the show would follow up on those message boards, but we would get like 15,000 unique IP address hits a day on those message boards, people reading those message boards, just to give you an idea. And this was in the late 90s. It was like 97, 98, 99. I moved to Vegas in 2000. So that's when I hung out at his house in 2000 with the Prompt Festival there, Prompt Harvest Festival. And his own website, and when guests would go on the Art Bell show with their website and say what their website was, it would crash that night because they couldn't take all the hits and all the traffic to the website. That's how much traffic he could generate on that overnight radio show about UFOs and ghosts and all kind of stuff that I guess nobody really wanted to admit they were listening to, you know. And he mentioned me on the air one night there. I was lying in bed and he said my name and it just felt so weird. And that was after, you know, I gave him permission to mention me because there was a previous incident where I had written an affidavit for him, or I sent over an email or something, a copy of an email, and they posted it without my permission. And that drew my attention to these weirdos. Like I said, this guy Fellini and his weird friends. They were a weird bunch of guys, man, with this relentlessly stalking this poor woman, this single mother, and her son. I think he had autism, yeah, and her son with the autism. Just for no reason, man. There was just no reason to do all this. It was just a real weird bunch around that whole Art Bell crew there. So maybe we can get our friend there, Ed Parnell, to play the rest of this. If not, or he can edit it however he wants. All right, guys, thank you so much. This is some exclusive content just for Patreon. Good night.